Alright, I'm doing some food prep for a through hike that I'm doing, and I thought I'd just share my method for doing a fruit soda bread. This is a fairly doughy, cakey kind of mix, but it's hot and delicious when you cook it in the backcountry. So I'll link a bunch of information down in the doodly-doo along with the recipe. So this is a double mixture, but it's about 200 grams of flour, 16 grams of egg powder, or the equivalent of one egg, 100 grams of brown sugar. I got 60 mils of powdered milk. That's just 2 dessert spoons, and a dried fruit mix. I put my own together. Dried cherries are freaking delicious. Some cinnamon powder and some ginger powder, and you just want to mix that up all together. Once you've got your dried mix all mixed together, you take the pan that you're going to bake in. This is a Fat Daddy-O's pan. Measure out your amount and transfer that into a Ziploc bag. Boom! So apart from your dry mix, I'm also using just a pinch of baking powder and a pinch of baking soda. If you are adding it to the full mixture, I think it's a teaspoon of one and 2 teaspoons of the other. If you're going to be doing this up the day before you go hiking, you could probably put it in there all together, but I'm doing this up a few weeks out and I don't want them to react with the stuff they react with and then not get my rising happening. My method is I'll take a little bit of the baking powder and the baking soda and just add a pinch to the Ziploc bag right before I'm about to cook and mix that through. Bam, that's done. Let's just massage that all together nice and good so that it's all mixed through properly. And then what you're going to want to do is add a bit of water to your bag and massage it together into a dough. So yeah, you only need a little bit of water to get your dough. I've just made this up a second time because the first one I did, I added too much water and it came out more like a cake batter, which is fine. It'll just be very cakey. And yeah, just massage that through until it's a nice, consistent, doughy consistency. And then stick it in your pan. You're going to want to grease your pan. I'm using ghee, also known as clarified butter, but you could use olive oil if you wanted to, and I'm storing it in these specimen jars, which are good because they're lightweight and they make a good seal, and you can prank your friends with them. The good thing about ghee is that it's shelf stable. And then we're going to do a hybrid baking method, which involves putting a little bit of water in the bottom of the pot to start the baking off in a wet baking method. The way that works is because it's full of steam, you know it's going to be only at 100 degrees. It can't get any hotter than that. And then once the water is all finished boiling off, you'll be dry baking, and that will raise the temperature and give you a crust. That's the idea behind it anyway. You're going to want some sort of a trivet to keep the pan off the base of your pot. I've got this little one that I made out of some titanium foil. You need it to keep the pan off the bottom and also allow for some convection, so that's why I've got the holes in it. You also don't want it to transfer heat too well. Add a little bit of water to the bottom of the pot. Doesn't need to be much. That's probably plenty, probably more than enough. Drop your tin on top of your trivet and start your engine. Now the trick here is going to be keeping it on a low flame. You're going to start boiling water off the bottom and filling the pan with steam, and any extra heat that you put into it is just going to be wasted. So yeah, you'll hear the water boiling. Just listen to that. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on how it's going, and once the water finishes boiling off, you'll get a bit of a dry bake. Keep an eye on it, and you'll know when it's done. One thing I will say is that You know, baking does take a lot longer than your cooking, especially if you're using a pot cozy or something like that, where you're just heating up the water and then letting it cook in itself. You're going to be sitting here for 10-15 minutes with it just on a very low heat. You can hear it boiling off, and literally just simmering the heat along at the lowest possible temperature to keep it boiling. And here we have the finished product. One delicious, tasty, cakey bread treat. This one might have used a little bit more soda to make it rise a little more. Delicious.